Good morning, everybody. Normally it's good afternoon, but today it's good morning. It's Craig Kamanis and Dean Holmes here with you for Uncommon Sense number 55. And I am coming to you live from the beautiful city of Hobart today, where I've actually woken up full of energy this morning, Dean. Last night I had the wonderful opportunity, and I try and do this whenever I possibly can, but a great opportunity to go to one of our great practices client seminar last night. And so it's always lovely to get to the cold face and see what the clients of our firms are feeling and thinking and doing and that type of thing. So last night here in Hobart, we had 90 of Hobart's finest in the room for a seminar for one of our advice firms down here, where they just took the opportunity to provide them with an update around the strategies that they have for them and the implementation of those, and what some of the investment managers are thinking that actually manage their money. And it was just a really uplifting night. I can confirm that 90% of the 90 think inflation is going to stay where it's at. There was a pop quiz, and that's what these people are thinking. And they kind of ranged anywhere from pre-retirees to retired. There was an overwhelming, we think inflation stays where it is. So there you go, economists. That's from the heart of the consumer.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Craig Kamanis, the economist. Craig, the seminar is not a past event that we might have done. The seminar is not dead.
No, I don't think it's dead anymore, mate. And it just got me thinking for today, we should actually talk about this. And the feedback last night from the clients was, we actually want more of this. Now, I know that's not going to be the same for every firm, because every firm's a little bit different and has different clients, etc. But it was overwhelmingly positive last night to go, give us more of this. In fact, we loved hearing from all of these people that are managing our money. And, some people might have said in the past, why would you put a fund manager in front of your clients? What? But if it's done right, and last night it was in like a panel style where there was a narrator asking relevant questions. And if they tended to say something someone thought perhaps was a bit over the top, they'd drag them back and go, actually, can you actually say that in layman's terms? What do you actually mean? And so to see the clients really enjoying the actual ability to see the people at the front who not only have developed their strategy, but then there's the people who are managing the money to that strategy. And they were ecstatic, mate. They were up and about. They really, and talking to some clients after, going, did you enjoy that? Yes, I enjoyed it. But going, why did you seek advice? That's one of my favorite questions.
Yeah.
It was, because I want to be comfortable. I want to feel safe. And I know that the strategy I've got is helping me get my goals. And now I can see the people who are managing my money. And this is an amazing event.
Very good. So let's break it down a little bit, Craig, just to think about this in the stuff that we might have to do to get ready for the event. And just sort of brainstorm a little bit of that, and then we'll move into what do we do at a seminar, in terms of running it, and what do we want to get out of it? We want our clients to get something out of it, and then we want ourselves to get something out of it as well in terms of delivering. So what are the couple of things that sort of you saw on the night as the example, and just in your experience, what are things that we need to plan for that might be a bit of a surprise? We're not organizing a wedding here, but we're trying to get 90 people in a room at the same time on the same day. So what did you see worked well and didn't work well in that regard?
Yeah, so I think number one, and I know this is going to sound deadpan obvious, right? But pick a really good venue that actually attracts people. Forget what you're actually talking about for a minute. Forget all of that. Pick a venue where someone's going to go, I wouldn't mind going there. I've heard that's nice, or I've been there before and it's really lovely. That's almost the start of this, is find somewhere where people are comfortable to go, or where they feel like they haven't been but want to go, where they'll feel safe, how they know how to get there, that they know where to park, they know all of those bits and pieces. So the venue is actually really important.
And the funny thing, I know of the venue, two of the criteria that came up from when I was talking to them about the venue was it has had lots of parking and no stairs.
Tick.
So you got to think about your audience in that regard as well to get that organized. And it doesn't have to be the Opera House. It just needs to be, there's a practical element to this as well.
Yeah, and it was in a public space, and obviously they had a sort of paired off room, so they were on their own. But I did note towards the end the big guy next door who was about to do the chook raffle coming around the corner just to see when this was going to wind up so he could start his chook raffle. But,
Well, probably he could have sold a lot more tickets if he
probably
just
could have.
walked through the
The
room.
venue is incredibly important. But then it is content. So, and this comes down to you understand your client best. So you should have an understanding of what your client does and doesn't want to hear, and how that works. And this particular firm is always big on its strategy. For example, if you talk about retirement, like its bucket approach and how that works for them, and the clients really have bought into that and understand that story. And so for them to be able to link all of the parts together for the strategy for them makes a lot of sense for their clients.
Yeah, and I think, Craig, that people, like, sometimes I would think about it and go, I'm just giving a client a financial plan, telling them their strategies. So why would I stand up in front of them and then retell them the strategies? But people learn in a variety of different ways, and often clients need to hear it a couple of different times. And a little bit of social proof helps as well.
Yeah.
So the fact that everyone in the room is actually coordinated, whilst every client is individual, the strategies are all similar, as we know. And so that idea that everyone, just saying that bucketing approach, everyone is bucketing their money, for example, and the clients hear it and then can know that everyone else is doing something similar. And then how was the event moderated, and what can we learn from that?
Yeah, so I think what was really good is the principle of the firm welcomed the night, opened the night, and really did a great job of introducing his team as well. So like individually calling people out. So what that did is a number of things. Is one, it's recognition, because there are quite a few new advisors in this business too. It's recognition, but what it did is it naturally showed this nice level of expansion that's happening, and that we're growing, and that we're supporting the community and doing these things. And so his ability to call people out and just, make sure people understood where they fit in the family photo was really great. And then really what he did is he then stepped out of the way and went, I'm now going to go sit on the panel with the others. And then he got a separate person to be the sort of narrator for the evening, to ask the questions, to keep the guidance going, which I think is really smart, because you don't have to be everything to everyone all the time. And then he was able to be asked questions that might have been more relevant to the strategy than the way the money was invested as well, which is really clever. So it's just a simple panel, Dean, the whole night.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the really good understanding that it's sometimes hard to read the room if you're trying to be the MC as well, when it's not your core competency, right? And so if you're a great advisor at answering specific questions, being a participant on the panel means that you're still seen by everyone, but you don't have to worry about how the organization of the whole event is going. And the other thing I love about what you said, Craig, is the idea of communicating to the client pool that's there that the business is growing, and showing the business it's growing by introducing all the advice team in front of the client. So the challenge for those growing advice practice is to remove the marquee advisor client relationship. So that advisor will always be there, but the idea that advisor needs to give you your contribution advice we have to break that nexus. And that's what a great way to do that in a public forum, to say, he's saying literally, I'm still run the company. There's 5 other advisors in this business now. They're all becoming owners of the business, and they will give you great strategic advice because I've trained them, is a great message to do in public, and everyone will start to get it, because you still need to train your clients a few years in a row before they let go of the one advisor relationship and move on to the others.
Yeah. Another really clever thing, Dean, and I don't know whether this was deliberate or just how it happened, but client arrivals, having a familiar face, and a shout out to the lovely Jenny. Like, so if you walk into this practice, Jenny's the first person you see. She's the first person who makes you feel safe, a warm smile, all of that type of thing. When people were walking in last night, Jenny was also the first person they saw. So they knew they were in the right spot. They knew they were there. They had that familiar welcome. And, just to sit back and watch how many clients gave her a hug and were so happy to see her and stuff, just continues to highlight how every single role in the business is essential.
Correct. Yeah.
It kind of makes your heart warm. Like, you sit back and watch that and go, look at the relationship. Like they absolutely adore her. which means that
absolutely.
then they're in the right frame of mind to meet with their advisor. Because
Correct.
they're calm and they're safe and they're relaxed and all of those type of things.
Yeah, I think a little segue, but I think sometimes advisors might underestimate when you're in that, when you've got an office-based environment, underestimate that feeling of comfort that that person can help with that client before the advisor walks into the room. Like the Jennies of the world can identify whether the client is anxious, worried, excited, etc., and that information should flow through to you before you walk into the room. So yeah, and a great example of that at the seminar as well.
We might do another episode on the client psychology as they arrive at a practice.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll do that in another episode because it's really important one.
And we'll do it on how you can do the same thing on video as well for those digital only businesses. Craig, any last thoughts on the seminar? Otherwise, we've got a few other.
Well, we can move on from that. I think, it just proved to me that I think the seminar in the right context is still alive, ladies and gentlemen.
So, okay, we'll pick up the next one then of if the seminar is dead or alive. We're saying that it's definitely alive. So let's talk about the good old Australia Post, Craig.
Yes.
In the context of client communications, what do you love about getting a letter these days?
Well, I think the thing about a letter, Dean, is it's very personal because if it's handwritten. So I'm talking about a handwritten letter in this case, not like just, you haven't just typed me something and posted it to me, which is still exciting because, everyone loves a trip to the letterbox. You get to wave to the neighbors and check things out and whatever. But, but if someone's handwritten you something, what that tells you is that they've actually taken the time to sit down. Like, they might have chat GPT'd it and copied it, but I doubt it, right? Like it's, they've actually taken the time to sit down and actually take out a pen and note something to you. Like, I don't think there's anything more personal than that. And it's a really lovely thing. If you've ever received one, you'll understand it. Like it's a really, I've still got one. When I finished up at Securitor, one of the practices I worked with sent me a handwritten letter, and I've still got it in its original envelope in its drawer because the meaning of that really incredible that someone took the time to write something to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we need to think about great times to use that.
Yes.
And the other thing I think is important, Craig, is to remove all the friction around it. So if you hear this today and went, oh, that's a really good idea. Like there's lots of times I could think of one time a week, say, where I could write a letter to a client just because something great's happened or they've done something really good and we just want to surprise them in that way. Got to remove all the frictions. You've got to already have the envelopes in your drawer right underneath your desk and the cards and all those kind of things, just to remove all those friction steps. So literally what you do is you just go, oh my God, that's amazing. This is the best way I'm going to celebrate that particular event with the client. So I'm completely with you, Craig. I think it's a great communication that's just received at a different time. So if you think about where your mindset is when you go from working on a computer to opening a mail, especially for the clients, they've come home, typically home after work, open the mailbox in the afternoon, and they're getting ready for dinner or whatever in the evening, and then they read that message, and it's different from the work environment. So it's a great time of the day to get that celebration message as well. If you've got any tips, if you've got really bad handwriting, Craig?
No, just still have a go. Like, it's, the chemist can read a doctor's script.
Yeah.
Maybe
well said. Yeah, well said, Craig. So the chemist can read the doctor's script. So get stuck into a few handwritten.
I just wondered, Dean, though, the age-old question when someone used to walk through the front door after a day of work was, any mail today?
Yeah.
Does that still happen? If anyone's out there listening and they still ask that question, let us know.
Let us know. I'm actually, it's interesting when I'm exposed to a different part of my business process in Absolute Wealth Advisors now, in that the PO box mail comes to my house every Friday. And so whilst no one's sending me handwritten cards, for example,
not yet,
I'm getting the mail, fingers crossed for all of our listeners, send it through to the PO box and I'll get it on Friday. But the reality is that I get all of the random mail that comes from clients actually come through to us. And and I get some nice letters. We bought a business recently that involves some older clients, and older clients do prefer to communicate with a letter and the post. And I get some nice messages as a result. They're not addressed to me; they're mostly addressed to Stella. But the point is that I get to see these random things, whereas sometimes I wouldn't actually get to see it because it would go to a different department. And so the mail is still a really good form of communication that clients pick up, and yet probably is an age-based thing. But at the end of the day, maybe a 40-year-old would love to still get a handwritten note because it's something different. And if you sent a handwritten note to a 40-year-old, maybe they've never received one.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's crazy. Okay, Craig, next thing on our list, which we've touched on a little bit before. So we've got a couple of little hints, but the next one is the phone call. Dead or alive?
Dead or I think, mate, I think if it is dead, it needs to be revived hardcore. The simple ability to speak to someone and we say phone call. I think last time I waved my phone around on the screen and said, does everyone remember what this is? But a phone call could be a Teams call, but not one that's in the diary planned for next week at 10. Like if you want to speak to someone, ping them on Teams and actually ring them. You can ring them and they can
hit call. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can
to organize a meeting.
I just still think that it's a lost art. And, what's greater than being able to just even see the whites of someone's eyes for a couple of minutes and just ask what you need and move on. If they're not available, they won't answer.
Yeah.
But I think, mate, it should be alive. And if it's not, it needs to be revived.
Yeah. And I think that it's a skill set to have those phone calls that you need to get something out of it relatively quickly. And I always say we're not brain surgeons, so there's not urgent, but sometimes the phone call is important because you want to move to the next step or get some information to resolve it. And so that skill of being able to call someone else, interrupt their day essentially in terms of the way you might think about it, but then get the help that you need to move forward on something is a bit of a skill. And so the idea that we go, I've sent them 3 emails. The moment you go to send a second follow-up email on something, it should be alarm bells in that I can't keep doing the same thing. I've got to change. Yeah. And so from the second follow-up email, we go, I've got to change. Maybe it is a text message. That's another thing. You're not going to write a handwritten note to follow it up, but you are going to jump on the phone and call. And if you don't get through, you can send a text message.
You just made a really good point with the text message. I've been listening to some podcasts at the moment, which is like 15-minute snippets with CEOs. And one of them was saying that her whole team is trained that you either WhatsApp me or text me. Like, yep. If you send me an email, I'll delete it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have time to sit there and read your emails. If you need 5 minutes with me, I'm around the world all the time. I'm traveling. I'm in and out of, the hotels that we're working in and stuff. If you need 5 minutes of my time, send me a WhatsApp or send me a text and we'll communicate and we'll get it done and we'll solve it and move on. And I was listening to that yesterday, actually going, that's actually quite unique, I think.
Yeah. What I love about it, Craig, it is a little bit unique, but the other thing about it is that it's one channel. So our challenge in corporate at the moment is that there is multiple different ways that we can communicate with internally and with clients. So I know that a client could email you, they can call you, they are actually starting to text you more, clients, and that's everyone needs to think about that, to how they store it, centralize it, etc. So I like the idea of WhatsApp for Business because you can get all the text messages coming through one channel and the business can communicate with the client. And then you got these things called client portals. So Peter Warren will say that client portals are the next big thing, which I can agree with. But that's like now we're at 4 different ways that you can communicate with clients. And so, and then we've got to post them something too, Craig. So we have to keep in mind at the client level, working out what our ideal communication strategy is and bringing that in, and internally doing the same thing. Like the fact that I can get an email from someone and a Teams message from someone, I'd love to reform that slowly over time as well. So
Sure.
that's the we took a little segue as we do, but that was all based on the phone call. The phone call is not dead. And the last one I had on our list, which is a popular one, Craig, but I wanted to talk about how to get it interesting and engaging is the webinar. So I've done plenty of webinars, participated and run them, 12:30 on a Wednesday while people are having their lunch, et cetera, et cetera. There's the webinar where I just talk to a blank screen, or I stare straight down the camera. I don't know who's on the other side, and I'm just blurting out information, hoping some of it sticks. Or there's this community-based webinar where everyone's got their cameras on, everyone is participating with the emojis, the chat, the talking, etc. Which one do you think's better?
I'm going to sit on the fence, Dean, because I think for different topics and different ideas, one doesn't work necessarily better over the other. Sometimes if you've just got content you need to share, I think straight down the camera works, because people don't really want to interact with it. They just want to listen to it, get that information. And if they want to interact after, they'll DM you. They'll slide into your DMs then.
That's Instagram for those people following along. So that's your fifth mode of communication.
There you go. That's for the young ones out there. But then the other one, and I think people have got better at feeling comfortable to communicate in those community sort of online surroundings. Like, when they first started, you'd sort of do any questions and, you'd even see cameras turn off or things mute or whatever. But I think for the right group and the right context, then that works equally as well. And one of the things I know you do, Dean, with some of your sessions is, that ability to put people into breakout rooms so that they're in a room with a few less people, with more people in common, with something else in common. And then that also gets them flowing and talking. So, mate, they're both alive and I'm sitting on the absolute fence.
Yeah, I didn't know you'd go that way. But yes, I think that from a selfish perspective, if I'm doing a presentation, my desire is to have that interactive, because it feeds the energy. Like, if I couldn't see you, Craig, right now, and we were just talking, I probably wouldn't be as excited as seeing you. So that two-way communication and being able to see everyone that I'm talking to, I think is attractive. There's this image of when COVID hit, Tony Robbins took his whole thing online, and there's an image of what they built for him in his wherever he was presenting from, which was many hundreds of little Zoom icons. So he probably had 15 computer screens in front of him, of which there was 60 little Zoom people on each of them. And so that was his version, because he can see his audience and gets energy from that side of it as well. But yeah, I think the one-to-many webinar overall, I think, is still a great way to communicate with clients. I think that we've got this opportunity to communicate with clients around the edges of what we do. So not necessarily having a webinar about superannuation contributions, but I think there's great opportunities for talk about your mortgage broking, your estate planning, your IT security, getting hacked, your banking kind of structures and things like that. Great webinars that can go around the edge of your core, that you can partner with people to do it, of course, and then get your clients and prospects to join that. I think will work incredibly well.
I agree, mate. And let's, just as you were saying that, our good friend Cam Fink came into my head, and just another way to communicate. If you see something or something's happened and you want to capture it, put it on here, film yourself, send it to your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. We can we have the ability to all speed up the way in which we communicate to our clients and still make it engaging overall.
Absolutely.
So that's it, Craig. Lo and behold, 25-minute Uncommon Sense. If you listen to it a little bit quicker at 1.6 times, you'll get through it. As I do. Thanks, Ben Nash. He always reminds me that I watch everything at 1.2 times just to get through more content. So thank you for listening. And Craig Kamanis, as always, thanks for being my co-host on Uncommon Sense. And we'll see you next week. If you like this time of 9:15 in the morning to watch us, let us know. It is a special time that we probably won't repeat, but happy to hear from the community as well. If we've got more people listening live at this time, we may shift.
We might. Who knows?
Who knows? Watch this space. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.